Well, I've spoken to this guy a couple of years ago, and the time has flown. It might have been a bit less than 2 years, but his progression on this big screen and the small screen has just taken off, and I predicted it. I just know it's going to go even further. My fellow Australian, g'day, Derek.
G'day, mate. Yeah, happy Australia Day, mate.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. It's good timing for this.
Do you have a little, because you're based in the UK, do you have a little bit of Australia with you at home, or do you on a regular basis have some Vegemite sandwiches or anything like that?
Yeah, it's they call it Marmite over here. Right? The Vegemite, they put a premium on those prices because we got to export them, you know.
Yeah,
But
true.
yeah, but it's not exactly barbecue weather over here right now. I am
No.
I'm very homesick, always homesick, you know. But yeah, it's I'd love to be having a barbie like everybody else today.
Yeah, well, it's been, I've been in Sydney here today and it was in Celsius, like 35, 36. So got up
Mate,
there.
why are you
So,
telling me that? You're just making me jealous now, aren't you?
all right. So, beyond expectations, little movie that you're in at the moment, I'll start off with The Beekeeper. It is proving to be a box office hit. And I've got to say, it's a bit of a surprise that it's a box office hit, actually, because this time of year, some movies can just disappear in the Christmas kind of rush. But The Beekeeper, starring Jason Statham and Jeremy Irons, I mean, well done.
Mate, this one just came about, you know, it was real unexpected, but yeah, again, it's one of those ones where, you know, I grew up such a huge fan of Jason Statham, you know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
right from the very beginning, from right from like yeah, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, Italian Job, Transporter, you know, like all of that, and you know, I would never have imagined in my wildest dreams that I'd get to work with him, you know, and yeah, he was just he was such a nice guy, and it was just
Yeah.
such a great experience, you know.
He comes across to me as someone who off camera would be just as awesome as he is on camera, and a nice, good, good guy to be around. Is that the case? Obviously.
He totally is, you know, like just my first day on set, you know, you know, when you go there, you know, they bring you on, and you know, and all
Yeah.
these random people are coming up to you saying hi, I'm so and so, and you're like, oh hi, I'm hi, and you know, you're just meeting everybody, and then somebody came and said, oh, you know, I'm just going, oh hi, I'm Derek, you know, and then it's like, oh, and then someone came on, and they're like, hey, yeah, hey guys, I was like, oh hey, I'm Derek. He's like, hey, I'm Jason, you know, and then like, and I'm just thinking, and it took me a minute, you know, it's like, oh shit, that's Jason's, the Jason.
The
That's
Jason.
the man Jason. Like he had that vibe where he was just so cool. Like, you know, one of the guys kind of, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was, yeah, he was such a down to earth guy, you know, for someone that's at his caliber, you know, which is, and it's just great meeting people like that, you know.
Well, you're Detective Chen, right? Now, I think you're narrowing it down to being perfection every time you play a detective, a Secret Service agent, a police officer. You got these characters down.
They niched me, you know, like you know, they've pushed me into this box, but you know, it's not a box that I'm like that. You know, it's actually, I grew up watching a lot of police shows, like, and
Yeah,
detective shows. Like I used to love the Commission, like the Shield. You know,
yeah.
huge fan of his, and or like New York Undercover, all these crime shows. You know, and yeah, I grew up loving like mafia movies. You know, all your Scorsese movies, and you know, your Goodfellas and your
Of course.
Godfather. And I grew up, you know, loving, admiring, you know, like that world. Like that was my, you know, my Mount Rushmore of kind of, you know, films, you know,
Yep.
and so yeah, it's kind of moved in that direction. I think it all started because one the very first studio film I did was Zero Dark 30,
What
where
a way to
I booked.
start, right?
Well, yeah, like you know, with Catherine Bigelow, and you know, and that was an experience in itself. But that was as an interrogator, you know. So I
Mm.
was interrogating this, you know, this terrorist, or you know, and I think that that kind of put me on some sort of path of like, you know, military interrogation, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Because after that, I moved on to American Odyssey, where I, you know, and where I played like a U.S. soldier, and War Machine, where I was a Marine. So it kind of moved in that general direction. And I think they made a lot more war movies back then.
True.
There's not as many war movies coming out at the moment because that was more topical back then.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the natural progression, I guess, was a policeman. You know, I actually did a commercial for one of the local police departments here, and
Really?
yeah, and it was actually a really great commercial, you know. And so I was in a full uniform and everything, and it was down at the police bases and a bus went by a few months later, and my face was on the bus,
Oh
on
my
the back of
God.
the bus, and it's like, man, you know, people are going to think I'm an actual cop. You know, this bus is parading around town. You know, it's like, but yeah, they've put me in this area, but you know, getting dressed up and playing make believe cop is all fine with me. You know, as long as I don't
Yeah.
have to go out there and put my real life on the line every day, I can get dressed up and play make believe for a few days.
You've never kept any of those fake badges, the props?
Wanted to, mate. You have no idea. I've really wanted to. Every time I've
Yeah.
asked, and I've asked a couple of times actually, and I get the same response where it's like, "No, we got this is the
Yeah.
one thing you can't." You know, because some of them are real. Like they actually get the real ones to
Yeah,
make it
sure. Yeah.
legit. So and yeah, so but yeah, I've always asked, and yeah,
You're talking about war movies not really being made now. Your director for The Beekeeper, David Ayer, he is coming up with Dirty Dozen, as far as I'm aware. He's still working on that. That could be something you could be
yeah.
part of.
Well, and he did Fury as well.
Of course,
Um,
yeah. With that
yeah,
had
so
another Australian in it, Xavier Samuel.
yeah, and that's the Brad Pitt and Shia
Yeah.
LaBeouf film, and but even David Ayer, you know, like I've been a fan of his. Like Training Day to me
Oh yeah.
was was one of the greatest movies, you know, and like like you know I've been a huge fan of movies my whole life, like yourself, you know, like and Training Day was one of those movies, and even like you know I know Fast and Furious gets a lot of rap these days, but back in the day that film was really revolutionary, you know, like because David Ayer wrote the first one, the very
Mm.
first, the Fast and Furious, and you know, and I was reading this article about how yeah, you know, Fast and Furious. I think the whole franchise before, I think it's based on an old Fast and Furious movie from back in the 50s or
There
60s,
was
but it
an
was all
original one from the 50s, a drive-in movie, like a drive-in double feature film. Yeah.
yeah. And so the flair that it got, you know, how it had that international LA flair was something that David Ayer had given it because that was kind of the people that he'd seen just around. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? And so he really
Mm.
gave it that of that modernization of how
Mm.
the streets really are, you know, and like
Mm.
yeah, I was a huge fan of the Fast and Furious movies. That's you know I still am.
Yeah, I think that first Fast and the Furious film is a lot like Point Break was. It was
Yeah,
very similar. Instead of robbing banks, they were robbing trucks. That's sort of how it worked, I think.
yeah, I saw the similarities too, man. Like even
Yeah.
just at the end, how like it was like with Point Break, it's like Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves, kind of like the cop that was betrayed him and he let him go, and at the end, it's like Vin
That's
Diesel
it.
and Walker, letting him go. I saw those similarities too.
And before we move on from the beekeeper, we mentioned Jason, but anyone else that you got close with or talked to and on set, Jeremy Irons in particular, Minnie Driver was in the cast. There anyone that you had a chat to?
It was such a great cast, and they put a really good ensemble together. But my scenes were with Emmy, so
Mm,
Emmy was out there, and so I spoke to her a bit when I was there. And
mm,
there's another great actress, Georgia,
yeah.
who played the other detective, and it's actually the second movie we've been together. Like she
Okay.
was in Has Fallen as well, and so
Right.
this is the second film, but this time we're in a scene together. The last time, I think she was in a hospital, and my character, I blew up the hospital, destroyed the whole thing. And but in this time we were the two cops that went to that were in the scene together.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And it was filmed in the UK. Did you have to audition? How did you get the role?
yeah, it was one of those ones where you audition for it and then it just goes through the rounds, and then
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was one of those ones where I hadn't heard anymore and I thought it was gone, like which happens all the time. You just audition for stuff, and then suddenly out of the blue it was really quick as well. It was we need you to come in for it. So,
Mm.
and I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to do it, and yeah, it's one of those ones where I remember Angel Has Fallen was similar actually.
Okay.
I see a lot of similarities between the two because they're both action movies, but they're like your throwback to like the 80s kind of action
For
movies. You know,
sure.
they're not your like Beekeeper and is your kind of action movie from it's like your Stallone days, your Schwarzenegger days, your
Oh
Jean-Claude
yeah.
Van Damme, but just a modern take, that kind of style. And they're the action movies I grew up watching, when I was a kid. And same as Angel Was Falling, just a lot of bombs, a lot of guns, and
Yeah.
and I love being part of that. That stuff's really fun for
Yeah,
me,
well, you got Scott Adkins, you've got Dolph Lundgren still doing his thing,
Yeah.
Jason Statham's at the top of his game. There's not a lot of Michael Jai White, but there's a handful, but there's not a lot of those big action superstars. But the ones that are around, they're solid and they keep going. So you're fitting right in with them, that's for sure.
Well, The Rock as well, the Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
huge wrestling fan, so to see
You
him
are,
um,
yes.
hit the heights that he's hit with the whole thing, he started off in the WWE and he wrestled there, and then he made that transition into Hollywood, and
Mm.
I think he took it over, like he was our modern day Arnie kind of thing.
Definitely. Well, so shortly I'm
And
going to
John,
ask you about Fight on a Fight, which is something you've got coming up and that you wrote as well, which I'm excited to ask you about. On the set of The Beekeeper, did craft services, did they have honey on toast? Did they do milk and honey? Did they
Do
get into theme?
it's funny you say that, like once beekeeper, it's like you just start seeing bees everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like there was just bees, like you just, and then just the word buzz, or and then like the song "Honey to the Bee," suddenly like it just there's just a lot of bees everywhere that you just suddenly notice.
Wow. Well, I hope we see another Beekeeper. I'm thinking with the success at the box office, we're going to see a return of the character. What do you think?
I hope so, man. I hope so. It was a lot of fun, man.
Good, good. Now, voice acting you do quite a lot of, and really top notch voice acting. That I know. I think I spoke to you about this last time I interviewed you, but is that still fun for you? Is that still a challenge?
I love doing voice work.
Yeah,
It's a great. It's just I'm a huge gamer as well.
yeah,
So just
yeah.
to be part of doing games and stuff. And when these games come out, it's really fun just to be part of that process. But I've spent a lot of time in recording booths. Like because I used to do music way back in the day. So
Okay.
a lot of that carried just working with different sound engineers and just working in a booth has just carried through. And
Yeah.
yeah, I find that working in a recording booth when the camera can't see any of this, it's very freeing, like because you
Yeah.
can just go wild and crazy, and you really are trying to as well because all the acting is just through what they hear, and
Yeah.
then so you've got to get all the emotions and get your intent everything through
Yep.
just from the voice alone, because it's all they're seeing is the cartoon, and I find that really fun, just and almost therapeutic, man, just to scream into a microphone.
I would be. No, honestly, I think you're mixing it up with all these different projects that you do, but voiceovers aren't easy. I mean, I've not done one, but I can imagine it wouldn't be easy, and you got to perfect it, but you're also enjoying yourself at the same time. You can tell.
Yeah, and I think one of the very first voiceover things I did was the Skinner Boys, Guardians of the Lost Secrets, which was a TV series. It was on Channel Go in Australia. It was an
Yeah, yeah.
Australian cartoon series, and it ran for 2 seasons. So we recorded 52 episodes of that. But I think I really cut my teeth doing that one because
Mm,
I was one of the main characters, and I played this. I played the so it's called the Skinner Boys. About these three boys
yep.
and Edward Skinner was the youngest boy, so he would be like the one that got into all this trouble, And
Yeah.
so I had to play him, and he was like a 14-year-old boy, so I'd have to pitch my voice up here, and go really high, and so that and I have to do that the whole time. But I think I really cut my teeth in doing that one because that was because we did so many episodes of it, and they recorded that one in Galway, actually in Ireland. So I used to have to fly up there
Right.
with the guys at there's a studio there called Telegale, and so I
Yeah.
used to fly up there all the time just to record these episodes, and I can personally see and I think it's like that with any show. Like you see it, the first few episodes, they're warming into the character, and then by the end, they're all over it. And I can definitely see that for myself with finding Edward's voice, and then once I found it,
Yeah.
I just ran with it, and I had so much fun doing his voice, like and yeah, you can't imagine how much fun I would have just screaming in a very high pitched voice at the top of my lungs. And the kid was always wigging out about something, like
Right.
like something with a zombie or something would jump at me, like, oh my god, like
That's cool. That gives a bit of oomph to the character too. And if he's always wigging out or there's something happening, you can go up and down with your decibels easily.
Yeah, yeah, and I love doing those wigging out characters. So I'm like, bring them on. Like, I think I got something going with that, but I don't know where all these characters going.
Oh, mate, you've got a list already as long as my arm. Fear Index is screening on Stan in Australia. That's another show you appear in. Has that series finished or is it continuing? Do you know?
Yeah, that was just a limited series, that one.
Yeah,
And that was yeah, it was based on a book by Robert Harris.
yeah,
And yeah, and that again, that show, it was so ahead of its time, like just it's all about AI
yeah,
and how AI can really affect our lives, and that this thing was written like over a decade ago, and yeah, it's I think it's a really deep deep dive into how things can go wrong with this AI stuff.
Oh, agreed. And why I asked if there was another one because it kind of didn't, it finished, but didn't finish at the end. It was left open. So I thought maybe, there might have been another one coming up but limited
If there
series
is, I
is
don't.
good.
Yeah, nobody's told me about it. But if there is, I'm more than happy to jump back on board. That I had loads of fun doing that character, and I played a CFO called Lin Ju Long, and he was basically the
Yep.
CFO of this company where the chairman of the company, played by Josh Hartnett,
Yeah.
he gets suspected of a crime,
Mm.
and it they go into he's the chairman of a hedge fund, and
Yeah.
so whenever all the money's gone, it's like follow the money, and I'm the money guy, because I'm the CFO, so I'm
Yep.
getting drawn into all this, and I'm suspecting him, but I'm suspecting that, and I'm suspecting the CEO, and I don't know who it is, and yeah, it was another one of those mental detective kind of ones, but
Yeah.
in a corporate suit.
Josh is great. You're great. Sometimes I feel like, Derek, you're acting with your eyes as well. You have a really piercing look sometimes, and I think that enhances different characters you play.
Thanks, man. Like, Josh is he's so brilliant,
Yeah.
such a brilliant actor, like deserves so many, he deserves all the accolades he's got, like I
Mm.
learned so much just from working with that guy,
Okay.
like, and just yeah, just when you work, it's something, there's something about it when you work with guys at that caliber, and
Mm.
when you're going against them in a scene, it's like, yeah, it brings you up, like, and it brings stuff out of you, and because you got to match it,
Of
and
course.
so
Mm.
yeah, and that's happened to me quite a bit, and the more I work with these guys, you can feel it. The more it's you're raising your game, and I love that feeling. It's a great feeling. Do you know what I mean? Because yeah,
Yeah.
you're seeing where you can go with it all, and these guys are so natural. They're such pros in what they do that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
sitting under the learning tree and just
Well,
feed me more.
I love Josh. Like you said, he does get the accolades, but he also doesn't get the accolades. People have forgot he's been around for a long time acting, and he sort of disappears. But when he does pop up, he's a great actor. So I'm really glad that you got to work with him and learn a bit and watch him watch him as you work at the same time. A great colleague to have.
It was great working with him, and it's like, and again, one of those, pinch yourself moments, like just we were just on set, and he had a big scene coming up, and he was like, he just called me over and said, oh, do you want to read some lines with me, because I wasn't even in the scene, it was somebody else, but
Oh,
he
that's
just wanted
great.
to
Yeah.
buddy. So it was just me and him in a room, and I'm reading the other lines, and he's doing his, and it's one of those moments like, damn, I'm sitting in a room with Josh Hartnett right now, running lines with this guy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and he was again another such a down to earth guy,
Yeah.
and so friendly, so relatable, he's genuinely a really good guy, and that's what I really liked about working with him, and even just after offset, when we'd go for a bite or go for a few drinks or whatever, it was
Yeah.
just a really cool.
Yeah, I hope to have a chat to him one day. I've been a big fan of his, so good to hear that he's a top bloke as well. He comes across that way, a bit like Jason.
Yeah, and he just worked with Jason on something. I think it was
Okay.
an Amazon Prime film. Is it Fortune? What
Yep.
was that? Fortune? Something
Oh yeah,
Fortune?
yeah. Operation Fortune. Yeah,
Operation
Guy
Fortune.
Ritchie.
Yeah, and also he was in Oppenheimer as well. So
Yes. Yes.
Josh is doing really well. It was Oppenheimer was like the biggest film of last year. So
Of course. Yeah, totally. I saw Oppenheimer when it was released, but haven't seen it since. But of course, he's in it. Yeah. Good call. I forgot about that one. Thanks, Derek.
yeah,
Usually
he's
I'm
he's
all
he's
over everything, but you got me on that.
he's in the biggest film of the year. So I don't know how much higher than that you can get. He's doing really great,
Oh,
and he deserves every bit of it.
oh, totally. And that movie with its 13 Oscar nominations probably won't lose any. I would be very surprised if it loses any of those 13. Maybe one or two, but I'd say unlikely.
Yeah, it's gonna be a clean sweep for him.
I think so. Now, correct me if it's not, but I'm assuming that this is a passion project for you, Fight on a Fight. You have it written. You tell me a little bit about it, and when are we going to be able to watch it?
So I've been a wrestling fan my whole life, right? And ever since I was a little kid, from I grew up in the '80s, so it was the whole
Hulk Hogan?
Hulkamania, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Randy Savage, and if but there's no, again, these guys were like, they were my superheroes. I think people that grew up in the generation before would have been written. And I did buy a lot of comics. I read a lot of comics growing up. But
Yeah,
for me, these were my comic book heroes. Your Hulk Hogan. They were these larger than life characters. And I just and I always knew what wrestling was. I knew it was these guys. It's at the end, it's like a traveling theater, right? It's a live show. These guys. It's not like other sport where like they're competing to put a ball in a goal or anything like that. These
yeah,
guys have performed something or rehearsed something or put something together to entertain us. Do you know what I mean? That the whole point of them going there is to entertain. It's not to win or whatever, win or lose. It's to entertain us, right? And
yeah.
I knew from the get go exactly what wrestling was, and so I've always enjoyed it. I've always admired what they've been able to do. The acrobatics performances and your
Mm.
feats of things that they've done in the ring, right through the '90s to your Stone Cold Steve Austins and your Rock and everything. So I've been a huge fan, all the way through. But there's been nowhere for me to be part of that. Do you know what I mean? Like in growing up in Australia, I think
Yeah,
there's a lot more now. There's a lot more Aussie wrestlers that are going into the WWE now, which is
there
great. I
are.
think their women's
Yeah,
champion, yeah, the women's champion Rhea Ripley is from Adelaide, and you know, there's a whole lot of Aussies going through now. Bronson Reed is in the WWE as well, and which is really great to see. And not that I would ever, be able to devote my life to that. Like that's what I admire about them so much. Is in like
yeah.
they're literally putting themselves. Because I've worked with a lot of stunt guys in the film
Mm.
industry, as well, and it's right there. They're doing stunts in the ring, but the only difference is with stunts on a film set, they do it many times with different takes. It's very very safe with they're shooting different camera angles. For the wrestlers, they're doing it live, one take, one shot in front of tens of thousands of people and millions watching at home.
That's it.
so
That's it.
if you mess up, you mess up. There ain't no going back. And there's been thousands of injuries, for these guys. So I've always admired these guys, and I've just wanted to be part of, bring a story together that, for the fans that kind of, um, it gives them a little something, and so that's how this all came about.
So would you call it a serious wrestling movie like say Mickey Rourke when he played the wrestler and that that was such a great film, or is it more of an entertainment story? How would you describe it?
So there actually aren't that many wrestling films out there. Like you
Mm.
said, there's The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. The other one that got a lot of traction was Fighting with My Family,
That
which
was
I
a great
actually did.
film. Yeah.
It was a really great film, and it's based on a true story about Paige, and I actually met her parents. So it was a really funny story actually. I was out there doing this thing called ADR, which is like it's this crowd thing, and
Yep.
my agent said, hey, listen, they're doing this ADR, and usually that's the only one I've ever done,
Yep.
but because it was this wrestling thing, he knew I wanted to be involved
Yep.
somehow. I didn't really care how, whether I was just it's anywhere. I just wanted to, just be around it, and
Cool.
so I went along to this thing where just doing some ADR for it. And when I came out during one of our breaks, her parents were there. The Fighting My Family, the
Yep.
the actual
The
parents,
actual parents.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and so the Knight family. So it was the father, the mother, and the brother, and
Yeah.
they had just been in the other studio next door watching the film for the very, very first time.
Wow.
And so we had just come out of the studios at the exact same time. And I was feeling their vibes of, they were like, wow, we just saw a, an actor play us on the big
Mm.
screen. And they
Mm.
were still trying to process that whole thing, and I was just coming out of the booth going, man, I've been doing this ADR for this film where, and for those that have seen it, the finale of it is that she wins the women's championship
Yes.
the night after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And I happen to have actually been at the real one back
Oh,
in
wow. So this is all
2013.
linked.
I don't know where it's all gone, but I was actually there in New Orleans back in 2013 at WrestleMania 30.
Whoa.
And so the very next night I was at the Raw, and when she debuted and came out and won the women's championship. And so I was watching it going, man, I've seen this, and now I'm seeing a recreation of it. And it was just really strange. So I got to talk to her parents, and who are really great. They're legends in the wrestling
Yeah.
business over here, and they actually did a Skype call with Paige herself. And
Oh,
and so I said
cool.
hi to her as well, and because they had just come out and they wanted to say hi to her and say, hey, we just saw the film, so
Well, that's so
that was
good.
itself. Yeah. And so one of the guys that's actually in Fighting with My Family, his name's Rishi Ghosh.
Right.
He was one of the wrestlers. So Vince Vaughn is like trying to select some wrestlers to bring into the
Mm.
to the WWE, and he ends up canning everybody except Paige. He
Mm.
picks Paige, but and so my friend Rishi Ghosh was one of the wrestlers there, and he's a veteran. He's a British veteran in the industry over here. He's wrestled
Oh,
loads of big names like Kenny Omega. Recently Scotty 2 Hotty, who was in the WWE.
wow.
He's
Okay.
yeah, he's wrestled some of the big names, but his career's come to an end now because the thing with wrestlers is they've got a very short shelf life for their
True.
for their
Yeah.
careers. Like all athletes,
Mm.
they've only got so long, and it's a young man's game, for
Yeah.
20s to 30s, and that's it's not an uncommon thing. Like there's so many wrestlers that have devoted the best years of their lives, their 20s and 30s, to
Yeah.
being on TV, performing in front of these huge crowds and everything, and their name stays on TV that people watch, and
Mm.
then once they've passed their prime, they just have to look for other things to do, like
Mm.
other athletes, like other footballers, and
Mm.
and everybody else. But there's not really a clear avenue or path for them, almost like an army. But where do they go, kind of thing, And if for people like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, that was great that he can make that transition into
Of
films, and
course.
people
Yeah.
like Cena, yeah, even John Cena, and even Dave Batista, who
Yeah.
went on to,
Batista. Yeah. Exactly.
yeah. So all these they had that great path, but over here in the UK, we don't have Hollywood, anything like that. So
Mm.
we thought this was a great opportunity also for a lot of the wrestlers, and since Rishi is retired, last year was his huge retirement tour, so he ran around all the independent promotions around the UK, performing. And this is a nice. We're trying to help set up something for other wrestlers that still have that burning desire to entertain,
Yeah.
and have all those years of entertaining on TV to keep on entertaining. And so there's a few big names that are legends in the wrestling industry that are involved in this too, and we just want to help grow this thing to make a really great film.
Is it? Is there any GoFundMe, or are you just funding it? You finding funding? How are you going about making it in the production?
Yeah, we're gonna look into doing a GoFundMe for it, and Indiegogo.
Yep,
Once we've got all the pieces in place, and that's something that so people can get involved in, and
cool.
it's really just going to be a film, between The Wrestler, which is a really serious film, and
Yeah,
Finding My Family, which is more comedy. It's going to be
yeah.
somewhere in the middle there. So it's going
All
to
right.
be it's going to be real lighthearted. It's going to just be a fun film, and but with a lot of little Easter eggs and a lot of little throwbacks to the good times, and
Yeah,
trying to merge the generations of wrestling. So we've got wrestlers from that wrestled on TV in the 80s. We've got wrestlers that wrestled on TV in the 90s and 2000s, and we've got current day wrestlers. And we kind of want to, just pay homage to
yeah.
an industry that we all really love.
So wrestling fans, the nostalgia is going to be there, as well as the current stars and everyone in between. So that's covers a lot of bases. That's great.
Yeah, and it's just a real fun project for me. It's like a dream come true to be able to climb through those ropes, and play make believe with the others.
So good.
Uh, yeah, so it's all fun. I've just been on this. I just want to do stuff that's fun from now on. I'm just taking a little bit of a
Yep.
you know one of
Yeah.
one of those kind of attitudes to
Yeah.
everything these days. It's just, let's just let whatever happens, whatever comes, and let's just go for the fun. Whatever's fun, let's just go for it. Let's just have a good time with all this.
Well, let's fight on a fight, and I know you'll keep me updated. I'll keep my finger on the pulse with that as it progresses. So good luck. I hope it'll go. I'm sure it'll go really well once it's in the bag, whenever that might be. Now, they're looking for a new James Bond, Derek. Would you be up for that?
But I'd be up for it. It's whether they're up for having me. That's the thing.
Hey, you never
I
know.
don't
You never know,
know.
because they're looking for someone who's athletic and maybe diverse, and who knows. I don't know exactly who they're looking for, but if you're up for it, I reckon you'd make a good one, or at least a good villain, maybe.
Right? Again, any part of that I could get involved in. And a funny story with Bond is I met Sam Mendes. I was going to be in one of his, I think it was Spectre, way back
Wow.
in the day. Yeah, and so again, I got right. Yeah, again, this industry is just one of those crazy things where 1 minute's in your hand, next minute it's gone, and
Mm.
and you work towards something, and it just doesn't go your way. And that was one of those ones, that slipped through the fingers. But I
I
got to
didn't
meet
know
Sam
that.
Mendes
Okay.
briefly, and that was such a great franchise, the 007 franchise. I've been a huge fan of it ever since day dot. Just again, I love those, the spy thrillers, and that's right on my alley. So yeah, whatever happens with that, I'm all for it. I'm all on board.
Well, you'd make a good detective, police officer,
Yeah,
Secret
I'll
Service.
sign up for that one if they have that too. I'll play Moneypenny if they want me to.
But hey, you never look this day and age. You never know what might happen when
You
with
never
money
know,
penny.
mate. You never know.
Now, you just mentioned opportunities that come and go pretty fast, but there was something that we touched on last time we spoke, but we couldn't talk about it. Now you can tell me a little bit about the outcome wasn't that great, but tell me about that DC movie that you actually filmed, but we'll probably never see.
Yeah, that was so out of nowhere. Like, what happened with that? Like, even now, people don't even know what happened with that. It's like, we spent so much time working on that, and I was super excited about, because I'd never been in a superhero movie before,
Yeah,
and just to be in that one, which was a different, like, the Batman superhero movies are different to the Marvel ones. They go down a different path,
for sure.
and, I, and when I was a kid, I used to buy magazines a lot. I bought every magazine, right? And uh, TV Hits and Hit Song Words were the two magazines I used to buy. I don't know if you remember those ones, but I used to get TV
Mm.
Hits a lot, right? and it was in the 80s. And I entered this competition, right? And I'd never won it. I was in grade 3. I'd never won anything before in my life, right?
Yeah.
So I entered this competition and I won, right? It was tickets to see the new Batman movie, right?
Whoa.
The very first Batman, like the very first Tim Burton Batman,
Michael
and
Keaton, Jack Nicholson.
with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. That's right. And and all this Batman hype at the time was geared towards us, to the kids, because
Yeah.
they were playing the Adam West Batman on TV every day. Every time you get back from school, you'd watch it, and so all that hype and getting the kids to buy all the merch and everything, that was all geared towards us. So I won, and so I was a huge Batman fan, and I wanted to see this Batman movie. I was over the moon. I couldn't wait. And I was counting, literally. When you're a little kid, you're just counting down the days, until say that your friend's birthday party or whatever. You're counting down the days till I get to go watch this movie. Week before, I break my ankle,
Oh
right?
no.
And I'm like, oh, I was also, it's like all I could think of is, how am I going to get to watch this movie? I'm on crutches in this cast, right?
Oh no.
And my parents were like, I think you're going to have to give this one up. I was like, you can't be serious. Like, like I've been counting down the days. I'd never won anything. I just, and the one time I managed to convince my dad that we should go. It was in the city. I remember it very clearly. I don't know if you
Melbourne.
know Melbourne well, but it was in Village Cinema in Melbourne, which I don't even know if it's there anymore, but it was right in the heart on Burke Street.
Yep.
And it was on a weeknight as well, so school night, so things aren't going my way, but I'm sticking to my guns. There's no car spots in near
Oh
Village
no.
Cinemas in the city, on a weeknight near Village Cinemas. It's the car park. So we had to park really far away in a really far away car park. And there I am on these crutches, and my dad had to like carry me, for like 2 or 3 blocks,
Yeah.
which ain't easy, and to
No.
try and get to this cinema. And then when I get there, they helped me. They had a wheelchair, and they said, "Do you want to go on there?" I go, "Yeah, whatever," And so they will. And so I remember them wheeling me in, and people looking at this kid going, "Man, this kid must really love Batman," or they're coming through the front entry, the wheelchair access part. But I was young. I was like in grade 3, but I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
On every seat they had like a Batman show bag, on every single seat in the cinema, because it was one of those advanced screening
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
I'd tickets
Yeah.
to. And I was just so excited. I opened it up. It had like a little badge and a little poster, and the whole Batman thing. Loved the film and everything. And then almost 20 years later, here I am in this film where that Batman, which was the Michael Keaton Batman, I'm actually going to be in a scene with him. And it's that Batman in that Batman suit, and with J.K. Simmons, who was playing Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
And me and him, we had great back and forth. And and the directors were so cool, man. Like Adil and Bilal, they're these great directors. They directed the Bad Boys for Life, the very latest Bad
Yeah.
Boys, and
Yeah. That's
the
right.
new one as well. And these guys are like super cool, and I was just so over the moon to get to work with these guys. And they were giving us a lot of freedom with the script as well. Like they were going, yeah, it's generally just go from, the blocking was the important thing, because they wanted us to get from here to there, but just have a bit of back and forth with JK. And the script was okay, but me and JK were kind of feeling each other. And that's another thing, again, working with these seasoned vets that know what
Oh,
they're doing. It's a dream. It's a day off when you work with these guys, because you're just playing with them, and it's
mm,
beautiful. And we every take was different. We never did the same take. We just did different vibes. We just
so
jabbing
good.
each other with different one liners. And the directors, they were, every time they yelled cut, they were just in hysterics. They were laughing, going, "Man, the banter between you guys was magic." And I was eager to see which one they were going to choose. What they were going to take in the end. And and then there's a fight with Batman, and
Yeah.
it was wild. And I was, even when the first Batman would kick me and I'd be on the ground, it was just stunt guy in
Yeah.
doing that part and I'd be lying on the ground seeing the Batman from the Michael Keaton one, and I'm going, it's like, man, this is like a dream come true. I'm playing, lying on the ground, just watching this Batman who's like, not even a feet away from me. And yeah, just to not get to see any of that footage, or get to be part of, for all that to be suddenly taken away. And
Mm,
I just wanted to yeah, just wanted to see. I think a very, very select few people got to watch that film. I
Mm.
think just a lot of the studio executives got to see it in the end before they've locked it in the vault or burnt it to a crisp or whatever they've done with it. But
Well, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, initially, what did you think when you got the news? Like, is there a reason, in your opinion, why it's been shelved? Was it too over the top? Was it just? Was there anything like? Was there any red flags that you thought, well, no, they're not going to release it?
none at all. I
Yeah,
didn't see any. It was a complete shock. Like I think even to the directors, it was a complete shock. I
yeah,
think to everyone that I'd spoken to that was part of it, nobody saw it. It. I think it, and I don't know. I don't have any inside knowledge. I don't know
sure.
anything.
Yeah,
Just from what I've read, I think it was because there was just change in ownership of Warner Brothers and all
it
that,
was a
and
weird time. That's
bit of
true.
yeah,
It
I
was
think
all
they were just doing a
shifting.
corporate restructuring, and
Hmm.
just looking at their balance sheets and their P&Ls, and for them, for whatever, it just made accounting sense to whoever, and it was one of those tough calls that whoever had to make, and it was just really unfortunate for everybody. We're all just praying that one day somebody somewhere manages to get a hold of it, or they do really want to release it one day.
Look,
Everybody's praying
yeah.
and hoping for that, but
Stranger
I don't
things
know.
have happened, like stranger things that happen. You know, the Orson Welles movie that was lost and not finished, that got released. You know, the movie that River Phoenix was in, that he passed away while he was making it, during the making, that somehow got a release because it got, adjusted to fix it up, basically. So you never know, but yeah, this one's a tricky one because of the influx of superheroes in general that are really not doing that well at the box office. It'd have to be a miracle before we see your movie, I think. Sorry to say.
Yeah, I think you're right. And
Yeah.
it's like it probably will be one of those ones where if we ever see it, it's not going to be anytime soon. I don't think, especially with I think like what you said, they're trying to restructure you
Mm.
know, the superhero movies genre in general,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think does need something because, I mean, I think with the Marvel films, I was a huge fan of a lot of those Marvel films, and I really, for me personally, I think it was Iron Man. It was Robert Downey Jr. doing Iron Man that really, that was the character I was invested in,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think he carried a lot of that, like whenever he was in that.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
growing up, I've been a fan of Wolverine. Actually, Wolverine was my superhero. They're the comics I used to
Yeah.
collect. I collected a lot of them. I collected Wolverine, I collected Spider-Man, Superman,
I hope you
but
still got them.
Wolverine, I got some of them. I still got some of them. I went back to my parents' place a few years ago, about five
Good.
years ago, and then I found this box which had a lot of the magazines I was talking to you about before, those
Yeah.
TV hits and the I collected a lot of wrestling magazines as well. I got
Hang on to
tons of
them.
comic books, and I was looking at this box going, I'm never gonna read all this stuff again, am I? Like, but you just can't throw it away.
Nah.
It's like
Nah.
you're looking at this stuff like this is treasure. Like, but I can't bring myself to throw any of this stuff away. But it's just gonna literally be sitting in there, like hoarding in a box. But yeah, Wolverine was my one, and so when Hugh Jackman did Wolverine, I
Oh,
was
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's the other superhero that to me was like that whole X-Men, that
Mm.
first X-Men
Mm.
that they had done. That was, that's the other kind of superhero thing that really got me. So it was to me, it was the Batman, the 1988 Batman, and then yeah, even the Chris Nolan Batman, that one I was quite excited about, and
Yep.
and then the X-Men stuff that Hugh Jackman did. It's
Yeah.
yeah, I think he just took that and ran that. To
Yeah.
he
We will see him again in Deadpool 3.
yeah, looking
Probably for
forward
the
to that.
last time as Wolverine, I'd say.
Yeah, and like it's hats off to him, man. He did that character for a long time, which ain't an easy thing to do. But
Yep.
he is that character to a lot of people. And
Yep.
even Sir Patrick Stewart for as
Oh, of
Professor
course.
X.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and of the Next Generation as well. So when he was in that with Hugh Jackman, it's like you're just watching magic right there. It was a great cast that
Oh, for sure.
original X.
So, did want to ask you briefly about Three Body Problem, but one final, say, DC/Marvel question. If, say, even DC were happy to offer you something else, would you go back and risk it, even though they did what they did to your film or a Marvel film? You know, you would be happy to tread those superhero waters again if the opportunity comes up.
You know, again, it depends what the character is, but
Yeah,
yeah, I ain't gonna. You know, I'm all for it, everything these days. Whatever opportunities come, or whatever, you know, characters or roles there are, I'm happy to have a look and have a read. You know, and if it's something that's of interest, you know, you can count me in. You know,
yeah,
yeah, I'm always open to hearing new things and new ideas, and to me, it really is about something different. Like which is why, you know, with the Fight on a Fight, it's, you know, it's a different kind of movie, you know, and I just want to see things that are different these days. Like I think that's what I liked about
I'm the
um
same.
yeah, it's just anything that's just not the same old, just something different. Even if they just try to be different. Do you know what I mean? I just want to, and they might knock it out of the park, they might not, but I'm willing to just watch it because I've just seen something different, you know, something that I haven't seen before, something I'm never going to see again, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
all for that kind of stuff, you know, like really great. You know, the Fear Index is something that's just different. Do you know what I mean? It's a different kind of show,
Oh,
you
I
know.
know. Yeah, unique.
Yeah, yeah, and same as Beekeeper. It's different. Like, you know, there's a lot of similarities to a lot of action movies, but there's a lot of things that are just different and wild. You know, they're thinking, you know, there's
Yeah,
a movie called The Beekeeper. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I
about
know, right?
bees. Like,
Well,
do you know what I mean? It's so left field. You know.
I've got to say, it's cliched. It's very cliched at times, the beekeeper. But what it stands out is it's also its own thing. It's in its own bubble, and the storyline and the whole hives and the honey and the love he's got for keeping bees as well as kicking ass. It just made it different, and the cliches were there, but you didn't think about them. It was the entertainment of the film. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm all for anything that's just a little bit different.
Yeah. Uh, Look, that's what I like about you, Derek. Having watched you progress now for the last few years, is just you are willing to take roles on, say yes to whatever in a sense, and you no role is less than another for you. I look at it that way when I see you acting.
Yeah, and it's just being part of, you know, part of somebody else's story or something that
Mm,
someone's trying to put together. There it's fun to see, you know, because everybody in this industry, everybody's trying to create something. You know,
mm,
and it all starts off with just one thing, and, you know, maybe a script or, you know, an idea, and then yeah, and this is something that's really fascinating to me. It's like if we just look around everything, if you just look around the room that you're in right now, or just look outside, like everything you see started off as an idea. Do you
mm.
know? Like the computer you're staring at, the screen you're staring at, you know, the couch that you're sitting on, it started off as an idea. It was just a drawing of a couch, or it was a drawing of a TV screen. It was an
Yeah,
idea for a computer, you know, that they created, they manifested, they created these things, you know, and literally everything in your room, if you look around, started off as a drawing or as just an idea and a group of people coming together and putting that together. And that's kind
pretty
of the world
much.
we live in.
Yeah,
Everything is created by us. We created that, you know, and with films, that's what all we're doing. We're creating these things that aren't even physical anymore.
no.
Like, what are they? They're just bits of, what is it? I don't even know what is pixels, or you know, it's electricity or a file.
Yeah, that's
It's a dot whatever dot mov or whatever it is. Like that's what we're creating, but it's something, you know, that can transform you. I think, like when with films and everything, you know, when
Mm,
you watch it, it does something to you. It's like when you go on a holiday, right? Like you're a different person to the guy that, you know,
true.
was there before the holiday. You come back differently because of the experiences, and I think, you know, movies can do that as well. If, you know, if you watch a good movie, or it can take you on a journey and it can make you think about stuff, and you can be different from it. And yeah, I just love being part of that process. You know, I think I heard a quote, somebody say that, you know, everyone watches movies. You never watch the same movie. What's a quote? You never watch the same movie again, if you know what I mean. Like the first time you watch it, you're one kind of person, and
Yeah,
the next time you watch it,
yeah,
you as a person have changed and evolved, and so you
yeah,
pick up different things, and you're
yeah,
seeing the movie differently, you know. And I love that stuff, man. Like,
yeah. I totally agree. I watch movies for a living as you know, but I'm watching a lot of movies I saw years ago or movies that I just have as something I like over and over again, and I get something out of them, no matter how many times I've seen them and know the dialogue and know the music cues. And it's just exactly right. You're going to get something out of it every time because we love when we're passionate of film in general, I think.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, you know. And so, yeah, just sometimes just to be part of some of these films, like to be, you know, like growing up such a big fan of films, you know,
Mm.
and just to be part of some of these films, you just want to, yeah, just be amongst the other creatives and the other people that are like that, you know, and just be part of their journey, no
So
matter how
in
big or small.
the next Robert Pattinson's Batman, if we have you're in Australia and there's a premiere of it, I'll wheel you in through the front with a wheelchair. How's that?
Yeah, yeah.
Be part of it
I'll
that
look
way.
after my ankles, you know.
Hopefully
It
you'll
was
be in
crazy,
it. You
man.
never know,
I had
right?
the weakest ankle growing up. When I was a kid, I would break
Why?
or sprain it almost every single year to the point where I think the teachers didn't even believe it anymore. They were
Oh
like,
no.
are you just trying to take a couple of weeks off school or like, you know, but I legitimately had a really weak ankle, which is, you know,
That now I
I
know
think it was
why.
all the basketball. Yeah.
I played footy rugby league for I'm going off track now, but played rugby league for such a long time and never broke a leg, broke a bone in my body. A few injuries and bruises, but nothing major like that. So it can happen to
Man,
anyone, I guess, and then other
yeah,
people miss out.
but I'm sure you broke a lot of bones of other people.
I I did. I'm a big guy. I did enjoy
Yeah.
playing. Yeah. Look, finally, I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about it, but there is a show coming out soon. I think it's March, so in about a month and a half or so. Three Body Problem. Is there anything you can tell me about it now, or will I have to wait till closer to release?
Yeah, it's one of those ones, you know, it's because of the magnitude, we just can't say anything about it, you know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
you know, the all I can, you know, it's made by the same guys that did Game of Thrones. So
yeah,
it's gonna be, you know, that kind of caliber of a film. And but it, you know, again, it was just great to be amongst it. And you know, I got to work with and meet some of the cast that's from Australia and New Zealand as well,
yeah,
which is yeah, and they're just so, you know, some of the young cast, but they're just so talented. And you know,
yeah.
just to be you know, get to know them and watch them work and perform was, you know, it was an experience. It was a great experience, you know. Yeah,
It looked
it's
like a
gonna
diverse, from what I know, that's a diverse cast, a young cast mostly, although Jonathan Price is in it and he's a legend. So I look forward
yeah,
to
and I
hearing
worked with
about it.
Jonathan on All the Old Knives, so
Yeah, of
uh,
course.
great
Yeah,
to
he did too.
yeah, it's great to see him in that. You know, on All the Old Knives, I you know got to speak to him a little bit, you know. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. Even Benedict Wong, who I've known for many years, for over a decade, is in Three Body Problem, whose career has just, you know, again just skyrocketed. You know, and he's just done so well. You
He's
know,
great. Yeah.
for an actor, for a British actor to get to that level.
Are you finding, I mean, this is sort of a similar question I asked you the first time we spoke, but are you finding the opportunities being from a different heritage, like a diverse background yourself there and available a little bit more now than it was maybe a few years ago? Or is it plateaued?
Do you know? I think it's always it's not it is always a tough question, but it's not where it needs to be. It's
Sure,
getting a little bit better, as in like at least we're getting to be seen for things, you know.
sure.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you fix this. You know, it's one of those things where again, at least we're being seen for more stuff, you know. Whereas in the past, it was like, no, well, we imagine the character to be this, so it's just going to be this,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
well, because from whatever background or whatever they're from, it's that's how they've only imagined things, you know.
Yeah.
Where you know, whereas there's a lot of people that can play these roles, you know. So
Yeah.
it's getting a little bit better, you know. At least that we're being seen for more stuff. And
Good.
again, I don't know if that's also because, you know, just because I've been in it a bit longer, so I've got a bit more experience. I don't know what the younger guys are saying. Maybe it's tough for them to break in, or I mean, at the end of the day, there's still only, you know, for these lead roles, that top spot, you know, how many actors are there? There's hundreds of thousands, you know, and how many of, you know, a certain heritage is only, you know, so many thousands, tens of thousands, but how many, you know, say Asian superheroes are there? There's one. Do you know, Shang-Chi, that's it. Do you know, or how many movies are there that have, you know, the opportunities for the lead characters like Crazy Rich Asians? There's one. Do you know, or do you know, maybe there's a handful of shows, but compared to the hundreds and thousands, with, you know, the number of shows that are made, it's tough. You know, it's like I can't be bilingual, or do you know what I mean? Like for those who grew up in a Western country, it's not easy. You know, if you were born up in Asia and you have those accesses, that's great for you guys. But you know, for everybody else, it's actually from, you know, from Western countries, it's not an easy road, you know, for any of us.
No. Well, Joyride was a popular film, and that was good. There was Crazy Quiz Lady, I think it was called.
Quiz Lady, yeah, I saw that one as well. That was really great, and that's what's great to see, that people are, you know, more things are getting made, you know, and hopefully they just make more of it, and they don't see it as, I think in the past they saw it as a risk, you know, and that's, you know, that's, you know, I don't think that's the right way to look at it, you know.
No way.
It's people want to see things that are different, you know, so you know, that you something that's different is what's, you know, what people are interested in. More than just seeing the same old, you know. So and then, like you said, with the superhero stuff, you know, people are kind of thinking, well, this is a little bit same old now, you know.
It's definitely overkill at the moment, or overload, whatever you want to call it, fatigue. And I think they realize that now. It took them a bit, but they've pulled back, I think, and maybe there could be a bit of change in that, or a separation of the release dates could be, or not as much saturation on the series that they're making, the television shows. I don't know, but I think we'll see a change, a shift moving forward with the superhero thing.
Yeah. Maybe they just need a break from it, or just a change of formula. Like, you know, some movies you watch and you go, man, this is very formulaic, you know, very, like they're really sticking to the structure and the formula for this one, you know. So but I'm sure they'll figure it. They're all smart guys with very deep pockets. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Do you do your own stunts, or do you offer to do your own stunts?
I offer to, if they want me to, but it depends on the project. Like for Batgirl, I did my own stunts for that one, which was a great fight scene for that. And so I did martial arts growing up. So and then I did kickboxing later as an adult. And so I'm happy to do stunts if need be.
Another tick in the box of you, mate. Well done.
Well, you know, it's if those roles come up, but I think I'm not actively chasing those kind of roles. Let's just say, you know, like I think the most stunts I'm going to do in the next year and a bit will probably be this fight one, climbing into the ring with some of these wrestlers. So that's gonna it's gonna need a lot of training and a lot of that's gonna be a steep road.
Will filming be in the UK? Is that where you propose
in the UK? It's about British wrestling.
And finally, like 2024 started off pretty incredible for me, as you know. I've got something happening now on television, which I'm so stoked for, and you've got a hit movie around the world on your hands. But what else for you you're looking forward to in 2024? Any challenges or any mission statements?
Do you know, really just to see where we can take this film, you know, this wrestling film, you know. It's like, again, it's just it's a passion project, and you know, I've got a really deep passion for it, and you know, and it's kind of the film that I've always just wanted to make, you know. And you know, hopefully people enjoy it, you know, because just what we've done so far, we've just had so much fun doing it. And you know, again, it's just doing whatever's fun. Like, you know, if it's fun to make, then you know, hopefully it's fun for people to see as well, you know, and see us make it as well. So it's really just put this film together and see where we can take it. And you know, last year was pretty rough for actors with the strikes, so hopefully, you know, this year will be a bit better. And just open to whatever comes.
I feel like I've taken up enough of your time already, but you just mentioned the strikes. Briefly, how were you during all that period? Did you stay busy? Did you do some self tapes? What did you do?
It wasn't easy, man. I got to tell you, like, because the US closed down, and when you talk to people over there and you say, well, listen, it was quiet everywhere. It was quiet
Yeah,
in the UK, it was quiet in Australia. Like, we all shut down in solidarity,
of
and
course.
yeah, and so it was rough. I did a lot more video games, like voiceover stuff,
Yeah,
than I usually would, and that was mainly the thing I was doing. But last year I managed to do Red, White, and Royal Blue. Just get
yeah.
get into that one, and also Dogman, which was the Luc Besson one, and
Luke
that's already
Besson.
out. Just to be part of that, and just to meet Luke and to work with him was just again, it was a dream come true kind of thing.
Yes, Luke. Again, you've been blessed. You've worked with so many great directors, so many great actors, and you're still going strong. And I'm proud to know you now and to get to watch this progression. So keep it up, and I look forward to hearing more stories throughout the year.
Thanks, man. And I think you said it right. It's blessed, and I
Yeah,
know how lucky I am just to get, to be amongst some of these guys and just to work with some of these guys. And I'm just so grateful for everything that's come, and yeah, let's just see where it all goes. But
thank you
yeah,
very
you've done
much.
such a great job yourself, and congratulations on the Sky News thing, man. It's so well deserved for you. You've worked so hard just to get to here, and just to have that now, it's like, yeah, it's only going to get better and better. Your best days are yet to come, man. So I'm really proud of you. I'm real happy for you, man.
Oh, look, that's really nice coming from anyone, but especially you and how I know you, how hard you work at your career as well. So thanks, mate. I just do what I do because I love it, and if people recognize that, I know what I'm talking about. That's great. I just do my thing.
That's great, man.